You have a tremendous amount of research in the post-traumatic triumph realm, and I think that comes from it comes from the a personal story, and so I think you sharing your personal story of what happened to you and your process, I think is a good starting point that we can kind of elaborate on this topic.
Well, it's a good time to talk to, because actually this July was my 30th year of survival. So I did a really kind of cool thing of 30 years of, I was going to do 30 miles to recognize 30 years of gratitude, whatever, and so we couldn't do that. So we did a little virtual thing. It was kind of fun.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, so 30 years ago in July, I died. And I had 22 minutes of CPR to bring me back to life. And so some of your listeners probably, have children on a swim team. My husband and I have 3 children. 2 of them at that time are on a swim team. And it was at a championship meet, and I remember nothing of this. So I kind of remember going out to dinner with some friends on a Friday night, and then this happened on a Sunday, and then I was in the hospital for a couple weeks. Just don't remember any of that. But I'm a very competitive person. I do marathoning, triathloning. I do a lot of physical activity, which I love. And so they were having a break in the swim meet, and before they did the finals, and they announced they were going to have an adult relay. So I grabbed my husband, a couple of friends, said, come on, we're going to swim this, we're going to win this, and I'm going to swim the last leg because I'm the fastest. I've been training a lot. So I did, I guess. So I swam the last leg of the relay, which finished at the side of the pool, which is 13 feet deep. And the timer, I heard later the timer said, do you need help out? And I said, no. And I just sunk to the bottom of the pool. And people were saying to my husband, hey, your wife's not coming up. And he said, oh, no, she swims all the time. You know how sometimes you go to the bottom of the pool and you just kind of come up? Yeah. And he goes, no, she's not coming up. So he dove to the bottom of the pool and got me to the side. And our children at that time our son wasn't quite 2, our daughters were 7 and 8. And he got me to the side of the pool, and luckily there were a lot of children there, so there were a lot of parents there, and a couple of them were ER docs and a cardiac nurse specialist and everything. And they started CPR at poolside for over 20 minutes, and then it was at Jesuit High School at their pool there, so they landed a helicopter in the football field at Jesuit and life flighted me to UC Davis, and that's when my life drastically changed. So I was in ICU, and I was on a respirator, and it's funny, I don't remember. Then I got off the respirator another week or so in UC Davis, and then they transferred me to Sutter Hospital. And that's the first time, I just remember literally my first memory is sitting up in the hospital bed at Sutter. And I looked at the end of the bed, and I saw my brother and sister-in-law. And I said, where am I? They go, well, you're in the hospital. Well, why am I here? Well, because, you died, and you got resuscitated, and you came back. And I'm like, no, and the funny thing, too, is, obviously, I'd asked that question a bazillion times before, and everybody answered it, and everybody, but I had so much brain injury from the extended CPR that I didn't get it. And by that time, all the IVs were gone, everything was gone. And when I was first in nursing, when I was a nurse, I worked in ICU. We resuscitated people all the time. Sure. And I remember them telling me that. And I remember opening up my hospital gown, looking at my chest, and I saw no marks from, the paddles. And I looked at my arms, and I go, no, that couldn't. They go, no, that happened. And I said, oh. And they go, can we get you something? I said, oh, I'm so hungry. My favorite meal is a cheeseburger, French fries, and a vanilla shake. Nice. So I said,
hard to go wrong there.
Can you get me, one of those things? It's like this, and it's got yellow stuff on it, and it's layered, and it's got these long things like this. You put salt on, and it comes with this white cold stuff in a cup, and you can drive through places and get it. And they were kind of figuring it all out, but that's when I realized that I started to realize I was really behind the 8 ball on stuff, that I was really pretty much a mess. So physically, because I was in such good shape, physically I actually did come back pretty quickly. I was able to do that. But cognitively and emotionally, that was my biggest challenge, probably. I think there are several other challenges, but I kind of had a unique view because I already was a nurse practitioner at the time. And so I knew kind of the patient, medical, nursing side of it, and then having it go through me. And I just remember, I was talking to Erin about this earlier, talking to you about, I was 35 years old, I had 3 children, I was very, very active. I worked out every single day. There's swimming, biking, running, doing something, and I had a whole group of friends, and that was my social life, and it was fun, and I loved it. And when I started asking about when I would do that again, I was constantly being told by physicians, "Oh, you're never going to do that again. You're never going to." And I think I can just remember sitting in my bed, and yet one other doctor told me I would never do that, and I just sobbed. I just remember just crying. And even my husband say, "Why are you so upset? You're alive, you're alive." But it sounds crazy, but people don't realize that's like saying we took your arm off.
Right.
I mean, that is such an important part of my existence. And to have that gone and like no hope. And I saw the cardiologist who was taking care of me a little bit later in the hallway. And I remember totally walking up to that guy saying, "You don't know who you're talking to. I've been through a lot of stuff before.
Yeah.
I'm going to get through this." And here's the thing. Don't ever take hope away from somebody. Don't ever do that. I said, your job as a clinician is to ask me what I want to do and to get me there.
Yeah.
Your job is to tell me what I can do. Stop the negative stuff, and I'm coming back. And then I turned around to go to my room, and I couldn't find my room. And I remember him saying,
Great speech, though.
it was such a great speech. He goes, and then I came like, "Yeah, that's great. She's yelling at me, and she can't even find her room." However, I will say, to his benefit, 2 years later or so, I happened to run into him, just serendipitously. And I said, "Hey, do you remember me?" "Oh yeah, I remember you." I said, "Oh," he goes, "How you doing?" And I said, "Well, actually, I'm doing pretty good. I have a cardiologist who's a runner. He sent me to cardiac rehab, which was a lifesaver. I started running in a way that, I wear a heart rate monitor. I don't run as fast. I just made a lot of adaptations and adjustments." And I said, "And my kids are great. I'm doing well." And he said to me, he goes, "Well, congratulations. You are actually the bravest woman I've ever met." And so, it hit him at the time too. But I think that to me is the toughest thing, is just taking hope away. And really, I'll just say, as a clinician, and I think you as physical therapists, that's your job to say, where do you want to go with this?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
We sit in a unique seat across from clients, and they trust every word what we say, for the most part. And I think in any other situation, you might have people that don't have the clinical background that you had that would hear those suggestions and say, "Yeah, I guess I'm not ever going to run again, not ever going to swim again," and just kind of take it for what it is, versus being resilient enough in your own personality, in your own mind, to say, "That's not good enough. I'm going to go find someone else that can help me achieve the goals that I want to get to." What did that look like from the moment where you had that standoff with the cardiologist that maybe didn't quite give you the information you wanted, to then finding the path that you needed for someone to help you?
Well, I always talk about the importance of family and friends and advocacy. Because I was messed up, so I couldn't do this on my own.
Yeah.
So luckily, again, my husband, who had nothing to do with medicine, or he's in the world of finance, he just amped it up and basically helped me out and said, "Okay, well, can we find somebody who maybe she can talk to about this and do that?" And so having somebody also advocate for you and say, "Yeah, I get how you want to do that," and then again, more than anything, was just like this hope that you kind of start to do things. And even though I knew it was going to be a long haul, going to cardiac rehab, this cardiologist, Dan Van Hammersveld, to this day, I just talked to him. He's 70 years old. We talked about running the other day. He still runs every day. And he said, okay, like, here's the thing. You don't really know what is going to look like in the future. But I don't think you need to worry about that. Yeah. What we want to do is today. Mm-hmm. And that's when I talk to people about stages that they go through or the system. I wasn't worried about when I'm going to run my marathon again. No, it was just like, okay, today, let's get you into cardiac rehab. Let's hook you up. Let's get you walking. Mm-hmm. And then you start doing stuff. And then you start going, and then you start building some confidence, and you start getting some, some stuff, you start getting some, like I said, some work behind you, and then you can start moving. And here's the other thing too. When somebody says no, I don't know how other people are, but that makes me mad. And I go, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if somebody says, let's start here, and gets me and listens to me or listened to me and got me going, after several months, I figured out, listen, I'm alive, I'm good. If I don't get back to a 7-minute mile, it's not the end of the earth.
Yeah.
But at least I can participate. And that's what and I figured it out as I went through. But to just shut that door, that's killer. They could never figure out, they couldn't get an idea of actually what happened to me. And I remember some of the treatments, nobody could figure it out, and I went through a variety of really painful lab work and, tech testing and all this stuff. And they couldn't figure it out. So I remember, and this is why I really so push getting people an advocate, because I was in the business. I was a nurse practitioner at Sutter. I had an inside look, and I was struggling to get care. So can you even imagine what other people are? But finally, this doctor, Dan Van Hammersveld, got me to see a doctor, Roger Winkle, at Sequoia Medical Centers by Stanford, and he's like the guru of electrophysiology, problems of the heart. So I'm like, oh, he's going to have the answer of what happened, because they wanted to put an implantable defibrillator in me. They wanted to crack my chest open, put that, and I was like, no, I cannot go there. So I went to go see him. He looked at all my labs, all my tests, listened to me, examined me. I'll never forget this. He sat down, he goes, first of all, gotta tell you, you are the luckiest person I've ever met. I have never met anybody that had that much CPR and is A, alive, and B, sitting here talking to me. He said, secondly, your life has changed forever. Your life will never be the same. And there are decisions about how you want to live your life. And they are your decisions. And if you want to go out and run and this happens, that's maybe the way you want to do it, but you need to recognize they are your decisions. And fast forward that to when I was writing my book this summer, I was talking to a neurobiologist who does work on control. And he was talking about patients who even have the perception of some control. Even if somebody gives them that perception, maybe they don't have full control, but they have a perception of some control, they do better. So you think about that, putting people's decision. And he said, unless somebody was in your heart at that moment, we're never going to know what happened. So when I was driving home with my husband, I was so elated. He goes, why are you so happy? I said, but it's just, I don't know, just somebody giving me permission.
Yeah, make your own decisions.
Yeah.
100%.
It's huge.